Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Gregory Wilpert, joining you from Berlin, Germany. I'm here with Victor Grossman, who is a longtime analyst of German politics. This is the second part of a two-part interview, and we will continue now with the second part. Thanks again so much, Victor, for agreeing to this interview. The infighting that had been going on for a while within the left party, you mentioned the disagreement over the military engagement of the German military, and which has divided opinions within the left party. But another issue that has come up over the past couple of months is the role of one of its main leaders, Sarah Wagenknecht, who had been advocating for a change or advocating taking a rather controversial position with regard to immigrants, saying that we need to be more careful with the number of immigrants that Germany takes in. Is that conflict, has that been resolved, or is it going to threaten to divide the party further?
Sarah Wagenknecht is a very, very brilliant leader within the left party. In fact, she's the co-chairperson of the caucus in Bundestag. She's a very, very good speaker. She has always been part of the more left-wing trend within the left party, as well as her husband. This is Oscar Lafontaine, who just campaigned for the left party in Saarland. They are a married couple. She has always been on the left, and people who tend towards the left within the left party, which is really true, it has its wings, have always liked her very much. Therefore, it was rather surprising that on the question of immigration, of refugees, which played such an important role politically in Germany in the last 2 years, with hundreds of thousands, up to almost 1 million people coming in from the war zones, from Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, that where Merkel said we welcome everybody, that Sarah Wagenknecht came out to say, and I should add that the Linke Party supported this too, and said for humanitarian reasons, any refugee is welcome in Germany. That's part of the German tradition. Sarah Wagenknecht limited that a little, said basically we shouldn't be really accept everyone without regard to how many can be integrated into society here, and said a few other words which indicated a complete openness needed to be thought over. Was this an attempt to appeal to the very, very many German voters who are dubious or even hostile to the whole idea of refugees coming in? In other words, was this a compromise, or was it an acceptance of certain things which seem pretty... It doesn't seem likely that Germany can really integrate so many people continuously without the right-wing elements moving ahead to say they're taking our jobs, they're taking our homes, they're getting all the money, something similar to the situation in the United States with Latino or Muslim involvement. The argument is still on. From my point of view, it seems to me this needs discussion and debate. It's a very complicated question. How humanitarian should you be without being unrealistic or in the end doing more damage than harm? However, I wish that this discussion and this debate would be held within the party without different groups within the party attacking themselves, which has happened, unfortunately, because if these two wings of this left party really divide, as seemed likely a few years ago, both halves would disappear, because neither half can survive alone. And therefore, it would be good if they could discuss this, debate it, and work out a policy. Whether that's possible, we'll see.
What about the far right in Germany? The anti-immigrant Alternative for Germany has been very active, and in the past year has increased tremendously in the polls, reaching almost 15 or higher % in some states, in being represented in many of the state legislatures. Now, it seems like the election in Saarland was put a halt, perhaps, to the rise of the anti-immigrant AfD, but by gaining only 6%. But what do you think? What is happening on the far right end of the German political spectrum?
They had an amazing upsurge, which was very frightening because they're really a far-right bunch. Their main policy, they have policies which are mostly far-right, pro-big business, pro-militarist, nationalist, but nobody was much interested in that. Their main policy was against immigrants, in fact, against Muslims. And with this policy, they won the votes of all xenophobic people who hate foreigners, related to people in the United States with similar views. And they kept going up and up and up in the polls, 13, 14, sometimes even more %. It was very frightening because they got into one state parliament after the other, and it's obvious that in September, in the elections coming up, they will, for the first time, they'll be able to make it into the federal Bundestag, the parliament, which means giving them a voice in television, in the press, in the media, which they didn't have to that extent. So it was very frightening. This was one reason, by the way, why some people said the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Linke should get together to oppose this right-wing trend. However, that's a complicated matter. Now, it really seems as if this big upsurge has leveled off and may indeed be dropping. In the polls, first of all in Saarland, they didn't get what they expected. They got over the necessary 5%, but not much more. It seems to be leveling off, and the main reason seems to be that the big immigrant wave leveled off. That was a year, 2 years ago. There are not so many coming now, partly because of negotiations with Turkey. But many Germans have gotten used to the fact that the immigrants have come, that their efforts are being made to integrate them, which means that they learn German, that they learn a trade if they don't have one, if they have one, that they work. It's still a very difficult process, but the worst critical aspects of it are no longer quite so much in the middle point, in the center of attention. And it seems, and people are thinking about other questions, in other words, which tends to take votes away from this AfD, this Alternative for Germany, which of course would be a very good thing, because they are, even with 9, 10, 11%, it's a pretty dangerous bunch. And they lead big demonstrations, and they, in a way, they are a cover for groups who are really terrorists, who set fire to buildings where immigrants are supposed to settle, or to attack people who look Muslim with a headdress or dark-skinned. Something like the same thing that's been happening in parts of the United States. This has given, they may not be openly for the AfD, but it's part of the right-wing scene, which needs to be fought in every way.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, Victor, but thanks so much for joining us here in Berlin.
Thank you, too.
We were talking to Victor Grossman, a longtime analyst of German politics. I'm Gregory Wilpert. Thanks for watching the Real News Network.